Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. I have a special guest with me, Miss Deevaana,
Hello.
and it's kind of crazy. Okay, it's crazy that both of our man's names are Cameron.
Yes.
Both of our mans are artists. They both have like collectives.
Yes, they have brands, right?
Both of them, their
Yeah.
artist name starts with J.
That is crazy. I just noticed that.
And we both have like a similar story, which is
Yes.
why I decided to bring her onto the channel to share her story because it's a really powerful story. And I thought that it would help a lot of people, so let's get into
Let's
it.
go. Yeah, my childhood wasn't really experienced like most kids were. I was mostly kept in the house, and if we did go anywhere, it wasn't anywhere far. It was just to the store, grocery shopping, just casual things around town. Vacations came very rarely, but thank God we did end up at Disney World. That's like the best memory I do have as a kid. Other than that, I didn't really have friends that I hung out with outside of school because I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to go out to any birthday parties. I wasn't allowed to sleep over anywhere. I wasn't allowed to talk on the phone. Because back then we had house phones, so I wasn't allowed to do that. If our neighborhood friends came around our building and asked for me to come outside, I wasn't able to go do that either. And honestly, my parents would scare them away. Like, it was embarrassing how they would knock on my doors like, hey, can Deevaana come out? And my dad would be like this frigid old man and just say, no, she can't, by the people. So yeah, that was embarrassing all in itself. And then it was just me and my brother. So my brother is 2 years behind me, and it was just him and I that would just kind of hang out in our rooms since unfortunately we were confined to our rooms. Once again, my dad was very strict and not really a warm-hearted person. So he used to say to us like, oh, I don't want to see your face, and just go to your room and just stay in there. To the point where I was scared to come out to make me something to eat.
Wow.
I had to like basically tiptoe around him. And it was that was a matter. And even though like our bathroom was across from our room, I was scared to even do that.
Wow.
It's just like opening the door was very like traumatizing for me for some reason. Like, I just could not bring myself to do it, But as I got older, I started to just really talk to myself and be like, you know what, this is not right. This needs to stop, and you need to stand up for yourself. I had to teach myself to kind of stand up for myself because my mom was there, but she was very, like I said, she was blindsided by everything. Not blindsided, she turned a blind eye. So I didn't expect her to say anything, to stand up for me or for my brother. So I just said, if nobody's going to stand up for me, I will stand up for me, So I'm all I have. So
that's like a really strong thing to
and I was young.
notice as like a young child.
I was like 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really young, 7, and just there on up, it just really got tough. I guess because we got older, my dad was finding it hard to figure out how to discipline us in a way. It did get to the point where it was abusive, and unfortunately my brother did get the more of the physical abuse of it. He used to go to school with like bruises. I remember this one time he went to school and he had this big bruise on his face, and to this day I still can't believe my parents sent him to school like that, And they had basically called CPS and were questioning us, and I'm a kid, I don't know what's going on, like, he's hurt. What about it, And I didn't even know how it happened, but apparently the lie was that he had ran into a doorknob. Like, that's the most famous excuse for anything. So after that, CPS was really on us like that after that, and then so I was SA'd. And that was a really unfortunate time for me because as a kid, you don't realize what's going on, and you don't want to make your parents upset. And unfortunately, I'm not ashamed to state who it was. I'm not going to blatantly say it. It was a family member, and that right there, it just makes you kind of question everyone around you. Like, who can you trust, and who can you be yourself around, and it kind of causes you to be in this conservative little box by yourself, you know? It happened within a span from as young as I can remember. I'm gonna just minimize it to 5, and then I want to say up until I was maybe 11, 12. That's when
you don't remember?
I don't remember when it started.
I don't remember like how old I was when I started, but I can say I was around like maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
I want to say that mine too was around like 11.
Yeah.
When it ended.
That's when you start to realize like this is wrong.
Weird.
This is weird.
Yeah.
And wrong, you know. And then you are growing into yourself, and you kind of look around at your peers, and you're just like, your parents don't treat you this way, and so you kind of feel outcasted, and you want to keep it a secret even more. You know. So from maybe same age to 11, 12. That's when I started to kind of bring the hatchet down on that whole situation. And it got to the point where I got older, and you know how sometimes you try to tell your story to other people and they kind of look at you like, no, that didn't happen or whatever. And
I didn't remember.
You don't remember? It blocked out?
I blocked it out until I was 17, and someone told me that they were art. And then I remembered, and it came like flooding back. That's why I like ran away, because I couldn't take it.
Okay, got you. That's crazy how the mind works. See, I remember, but not like every little detail. Because I wanted to be, it's like I didn't want to be present, but I wanted to be like aware of like what's going on here. Like I needed to assess the situation, you know. So that happened, and you know, he was strict on top of that, and it took me to a place where I can't trust men, you know. And it's just, how do I act around you? How do I talk to you? How do I dress around you? How do I do anything around you? And then telling my mom was basically a dead end. Didn't believe me. I think it was a cultural thing, because my mom was foreign, and she didn't really take accountability for what was going on, what was happening, none of that. So I kind of just deaded that whole situation and just handled it on my own. I didn't tell anybody until I wanted to just leave, run away, because I was influenced by my peers. I wanted to live like them. I wanted to go places. I wanted to have a good relationship with whoever was taking care of me. I wanted to experience amusement parks and the movies, going out on dates, and just having sleepovers, like simple things like that I didn't get to have. So,
do you think you know why your dad was so protective?
The funny thing is, I actually do know. It's because I just found out recently, because a cousin of mine had reached out to me. She had found me on Facebook, and I went over to her house, and she basically gave me the rundown of my dad's childhood, and he too was abused. So he just inherited those ways. That's all he knew, I guess, and he just treated like all his children that way. That was my childhood. It was very, very wicked. So I started to run away, and that's when I met my best friend. She luckily moved into the neighborhood right next door. So the funny thing is, I didn't like her at first. I did not like her at first, because I had this special spot at the bus stop that I always stood in to catch the bus to go to school. So one day, she was there, just in my spot. Like, of all the spots, you want to be in mine. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. And then she seemed to get acquainted with people fairly fast, and for some reason I was kind of jealous of that. Like, you just come out of nowhere
forever.
Yeah, and I don't really have friends like that, you know? I mean, I did have friends, but I wasn't, as you say, like popular, or people didn't gravitate towards me as much. And honestly, I think looking back, they probably thought I was weird, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So yeah, somehow or another, we just got connected. I remember walking home one day, and I took my time going home. As I got older, I started taking my time going home. And then she was on her balcony, and so she was the new kid. She didn't really have anyone in her neighborhood to hang out with. And I don't remember what she specifically said, but it was a matter of like, do you want to hang out? And I was scared to say yeah, because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I wanted to hang out, you know? So I just said, okay, I'm gonna hang out. It's right here. Like, I'll be fine. So I can't remember what we did to hang out. I'm pretty sure we just got acquainted, just exchanged names and favorite colors and stuff like that. And then I went home. I'm sure I got in trouble when I got home because it was way past the time that I was supposed to be home, and they were like clockwork. Like if you're out of school by 2:45, you need to be here by 3. No minute less, no minute later. You know, so that became a habit, and we started really just being friends and getting comfortable with each other, and it just got to the point where I just didn't care about going home anymore. I didn't care about the time. It would be dark outside. I would still be weary, like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in some really tough mud right now, but I didn't care because I was finally having fun. I had a friend, you know, and to this day she is my best friend. She's my A1, and she helped me throughout everything that transpired throughout the years. And with that, it's kind of history. The first time I literally ran away was, can't remember what triggered me to just go, but I remember going over to her house and just telling her, I said, I don't want to go home. And that's when I laid out my whole situation towards her.
You had never told her?
I've never told her. I've never told anyone.
Wow.
Honestly, she's the first person that knew about my situation. And she was just blown away. And her mom, we had told her mom was very caring and very supportive of the whole situation, and that's the type of love that I wanted my entire life. And to see her give that to me, it was foreign, like I didn't know what to do, but I wanted to fall into it, and I did. You know, like I was very grateful and appreciative of her loving characteristics towards me. She barely knew me, and she treated me like I was her own. So back then I didn't know anything about law, so you know, she can't really hold me or whatever because she doesn't have legal rights to. So she did explain to me that she could get in trouble if my parents did get law enforcement involved. So although I didn't want to listen to that, I respected it, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go home. And that night I went home and I walked in through the doors. Luckily I have my own key, so I'm not like literally locked out. So I walked through the doors, and walking through the door was the worst thing I had to do every day, because my dad sat in the same spot every day, didn't move, didn't budge unless he had to go do something like to feed himself or use the bathroom. So walking in, I knew he was gonna burn a hole in my face, and I just walked past him. I didn't say a word. I don't know if I blocked out anything, but I don't remember if anything happened when I walked in the house. I don't remember I was yelled at. I don't remember. But that didn't stop me from, it was like a drug to be free. That was my addiction as a kid. So
wait, how old were you when this was happening?
I was in middle school, so maybe 11, 12. That's when everything started to kind of break down to me. I realized this is not right. I'm gonna do what I want to do, because the only person that seems to give me the life I want is myself. You know, I can't rely on the two people that's supposed to create this vision of a realm for me. You know, I had to do that for myself. So I don't know how often I ran away. It was a few times actually. And then one day I said, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going back. I don't care who gets in trouble. I will take the weight of it, but for the most part, I don't care. I'm leaving. You know, it got to the point where I was in high school. And you're older, and you definitely want to hang out with your friends. They're doing things like go to the movies, and I used to be so sad when my friends would ask me if I want to go ice skating, roller skating, to after school shows or whatever, and I'm like, no. Like they would always ask, bless their heart, but they knew the answer. Like I could never go, and I wouldn't even stomach the energy to even ask my parents, because as a whole, you can't even go, and who's gonna pick you up? You know, so it was that whole situation. So I have this other friend, we're still close friends to this day, and she was going through the same situation as well, and we kind of bonded over that. And she would run away, and I saw how she did it, like with the whole school being involved. So I tried not to go that route. So
like admin and stuff.
Yeah, admin and stuff. But I ended up going that route because I didn't need help. I was underage. There's nothing I could do on my own that was gonna lead me on the right path. So I eventually got really close with, I believe she was like the administrator. Like she was the top executive one, I don't know, in school. She was an administrator. She was a really cool one, and I really confided in her. And I told her everything that I've been through from the time I was 5, 6, 7 to now. And I wasn't shameful at all. I said I had this burst of energy just to get it out.
Wow.
And it was this strength that I didn't have before that all of a sudden just said, Deevaani, you're done. Just get it out. You need help. And if you want the life that you want, you're going to have to say something now.
Yeah.
So I did. I sat in her office and I told her everything. And her mouth was on the floor. On the floor. She couldn't believe it because I did a really good job of hiding it.
Mm.
I didn't show that I was depressed. I didn't show that I was sad. I didn't show that I was, hurting inside. I just put a smile on my face. My defense was being funny, So I told her everything. She was like, I never thought you were like this. I didn't think this would be going on with you. And I didn't have anything to say after that. I was like, yeah, it's all on the table. So after that, of course, she had to call the police.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we had one that was on the school grounds. So he came, I forgot his name. But he was a cool dude. I used to always think he was mean, but he was just a big guy. That's a teddy bear. So I had to tell my story a few times to the officer, to this other counselor in the building, and every time I told my story, it just got easier and easier.
Wow.
It was like water. And what did they say? I think I was 15 at the time, so they told me that I couldn't get emancipated yet.
Was it 16?
Yeah, 16.
Mm.
I couldn't get emancipated yet, and somehow or another, they had called my dad to come pick me up. I may have my facts mixed up because it was such a long time ago, but he came to pick me up, and I told him, I was like, no, I'm not going with it. You can arrest me right now. And I said that to the cop's face. I said, no, I'm not going. I will sit right here until school tomorrow morning. And they were just so sensitive to the whole situation. They weren't rough and they weren't aggressive. They felt me in that moment. So that day, I remember walking out of that building. I don't remember who I left with, if I left by myself or with a friend or something like that, but I remember looking back and I saw my dad standing at the front of the building with like my book bag. And for some reason, I felt bad. Like at the end of the day, I don't hate him because I feel like he is my father at the end of the day, and I felt I felt bad just looking back, like, dang. But I knew what I was doing, it had to be done. And I just kept it moving from then. And I bounced from house to house, I bounced. Yeah. At first I was at my best friend's house. Mm-hmm. And they didn't really have the room or the resources to take care of me. And I felt like taking care of me might be a little bit too much because, you didn't have the room to. And this is sudden, So she helped me out with getting acquainted with her aunt, and they were very welcoming. Like, the one thing about her family is they treated me like I was their own, and they barely knew me. I believe I lived there for, I don't know, like a few things have been blocked out, maybe a few weeks, and I had like this tote that my best friend gave to me the day that we snuck back into my house, because I knew my parents' schedule down to the T. I said, they're going to be gone from this time to this time. We have T-minus hours to go in my house and get everything that I need and that's important that I want to have. So she comes out of nowhere with this big tote, and then we go in my house, and she is a professional. She starts grabbing trash bags, throwing everything in there. I'm standing there like, whoa. Like, I was going to sit here all kind and nice and like fold everything and like order everything to put away, but no, she was like, we don't have time for that. We gotta go. And I was like, okay, you just do what you gotta do. And I was standing here, I was just pointing, you grab. And that's exactly what she did. And we had a few trash bags of stuff. And then eventually I just confined it in that one big blue tote that I still have to this day. And I carry it everywhere. My boyfriend is probably like, what is this tote that you keep bringing with you everywhere? So now I keep good memories in it. I keep all, like, anything that I had from my childhood in there. Everything that my son had as a baby, I kept in there. Prom dresses, my graduation cap, everything in there. Filled it with good memories. So yeah, after her aunt's house, my other friend that I was close to, since she ran away, she had ran away to her older brother's house, and he was older than us, like a whole adult. So I started going over there and like hanging out with them, and I just saw all the life that they had and how he took her in from her situation, from her parents, even though that was her older brother. So he took her in, and I just was so fascinated by how he treated her and just his kids and how he just carried on about life. Like, he did things all the time. And he incorporated me and my best friend into a lot of their plans. Like, when he planned a Six Flags trip, he said, come on, let's go. Like, it's paid for. Let's go to Six Flags, King's Dominion, just out to dinner, just anything. And I felt like I was being fulfilled. You know, this is what I wanted for so long. And I didn't second guess it. I just went with the flow. I didn't sit there and wonder. I'm going to enjoy it while I'm in this moment. So one day, it got to the point where I need to tell him what's going on, because I'm sure he's wondering why I'm around so much, you know? So I told him the story. And, you know, he told me the same thing, and he was honest, and he said, well, you know, I am a man, and we're not related, so it may look kind of funny to society. And I was like, I do understand, but I'm not asking you to take me in. I'm just telling you my story. So if there's any way that you could possibly help me, you can. And he was baffled too, jaw to the floor. And from that point on, it was like he was doing God's work. He found a way to kind of get me out of this situation. I didn't expect someone that was unrelated to me to go that far. He went through the school systems. He went the right way to get me out of this situation, and he legally adopted me. We have no ties or whatsoever. And I don't know what hoops he had to jump through, but he did an amazing job. Around 15, 16, that's when I was officially his daughter.
Wow.
We went to court, and I remember that court day. I was so nervous. I didn't want my parents to show up, but they did. I remember seeing my mom, and she was a petite little woman, so her feet would be swinging on the chair, and you know, I just felt very sensitive about the situation. Like, this needs to be done, but I am still hurt that you guys hurt me, and now I'm hurting you, and this is just a big situation. You know, I just didn't like anybody being mad at me, but I just went with my guns and I pulled through. In the courtroom, I had to tell them my story again. This is probably like the 18th time I've told my story, but like I said, it was like water. So it was very nerve-wracking to kind of be on the stand.
Yeah.
And I remember the courtroom being full for some reason. I'm just like, I feel like I'm on divorce court or something. Getting divorced from my parents. So the judge asked me, like, am I sure? And he looked at me, he said, are you sure? Are you positive you want to do this? And I said, yes. And then he looked at, which I call now my dad, he looked at him and basically asked that same thing, like, are you willing to take care of Deevaani? He said yes. And then he had asked my biological parents, and they stood up, and he had asked them, are you giving up your rights, basically? Automatic yes. Can you believe that? Automatic yes. My mom didn't say anything.
Your dad.
My dad, he was the ruler of all, and I know my mom was hurting on the inside. To this day, I can only imagine her, like, emotions through it. And I didn't understand then that I may have been hurting her, and she was too scared to say anything. But now I get it, and I think that's all that matters, really. So my dad said, yeah, I'll give up my rights, but the only thing I want for my daughter is the key to my apartment.
Wow.
And I was like, you can have your key. And I think that started my rebuttal. Like, I have really quick comebacks sometimes, and I think that's why. From that day on, I just always had like an attack word or something. So yeah, after that, it was official. We signed whatever we had to sign, and my dad called in my new dad into a separate room, and they told me to stand outside. I'm like, okay, be careful. Like, I was scared for him, you know. And he came out, and then eventually I remember him telling me that my dad had asked me, is he basically having sex with me? Like, is he in some type of relationship with me or something along those lines? And I was so disgusted because, you know, disgusted. And I was so relieved to be away from that situation, but it felt weird. Like I'm walking away from one life into a new one.
Yeah.
You know? And so from there, it was the start of my mental health, self-care, finding myself journey.
Yeah.
Like that was the start of everything. And I'm still doing it to this day. I'm still trying to figure it out. It wasn't easy then, it's still not easy. I can say it's gotten a little bit more, you know, I gotten a little bit familiarized with myself to the point where I know what I like, I know what to do, I know how to handle things, how to react and stuff like that. Of course, my new dad gave me rules. I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, and I had a curfew before the lights turned on outside, and I had to get straight A's and B's. Thank God for that, because if it wasn't for him, I believe that I would have dropped out. I just didn't have the motivation to go to school from my parents. They didn't really seem interested in my education. So
Really?
Yeah. No. And surprisingly, I did good in school. Regardless of that, I did good in school.
Usually foreign parents, they want you to stay home and they want you to study.
Yeah.
And they want you to get good grades. But that's interesting that they didn't care about your grades. How do you think that the events that you went through, like with your actual parents, how did they affect your can't talk.
It's okay.
How did the events that you went through in your childhood, how did they affect your adulthood years?
So my adulthood years, it affected it greatly because I didn't really know how to interact with people. My communication sucks.
Same.
It either sucked or sucks. I don't know. I'm still working on it. So my communication is very, very, very weak, in a sense. But I've gotten better at it. I get weird around other people's parents for some reason. I don't know why that's a thing. But I just try to make sure I'm perfect. I try to make sure that I'm like...
Me too, actually.
Yeah, I try to make sure that I'm all my P's and Q's. And
yeah,
that
which is like kind of not...
Yeah.
You should be yourself.
Exactly. And I think that's another reason I struggle with myself. I didn't know how to be myself because I didn't know who I was to be myself. So I would like grab things from different people, their characteristics, and try to make it my own. But I think it just made me weird because I just didn't know how to handle those characteristics, you know?
One of the things that I'm like really big on is like breaking generational curses.
For sure.
And it's like making sure that you don't repeat the like toxic cycles that you went through. So what are some things that you think that you're not going to carry on or you're like purposefully doing so that you're raising your son with the way that you wanted to be raised?
So I purposely show him all the love that I have within me because I didn't get that. So I want him to feel like he's loved and taken care of and he's meant to be here.
Yeah.
You know, he's meant to be my son and I'm meant to be his mom. So that's one thing that I wanted to break. I always said to myself, if I had a kid one day, I'm gonna give him everything, give him my all. And I think it got to the point where I feel like I'm spoiling him sometimes. He's spoiled, but I'd rather him be spoiled than not.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a cap to it. You need to learn your own boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
So that, and I make sure that I take him out. So we go on random walks. Make sure that we do at least one trip a year because, you know, he has school and all that. And I make sure that I'm just present. You know, I just think that was very important that I could provide for him. It's just being present.
It's different when you're like there versus like when you're talking to your kid, like you're doing stuff with your kid. Like there's a complete difference.
Yeah, there is a complete difference, and that'll teach them communication.
Yeah, it's like being their friend, but then also like making sure that they still respect you.
Exactly. So that's the one generational curse that I wanted to break. And I want to say another one that I wanted to break is you don't have to be with someone if you don't have to be, because I feel like my mom was just with my dad because of maybe financial reasons. Also, that's all she knew. And I feel as though she wasn't happy. She didn't get to do a lot of things that she had wanted to do because she felt the need that she had to work every day to pay the bills, to cook dinner for him, and to just do things every day as a routine. And I was like, I will never be that way. And I do have my own routine, but I spiced it up. Like either every day, every other day, every week or whatever. And I will never be anywhere, whether it's with someone or not. I'm not gonna be somewhere that I'm not happy. If I'm gonna leave, and I don't want to live like that.
Especially when you have kids, like it doesn't really like they notice things, and I feel like it's better if you have like that healthy, strong relationship.
Yeah.
For their sake.
And then what molded me to be kind of like concerned about my relationships with men, because I didn't really see that growing up, so I didn't know how to interact with them. I didn't know how to act, how to be, you know, cognizant of somebody else, you know. So I would just treat them like they were anything, you know, because I didn't want to open up to anybody. I didn't want anybody to have that type of hold over me. So I always had like this hard to get type of feel to me. And I still do, because that's just me. I'm just protective of myself.
I was shy. The amount of times that I broke up with.
Really?
Because I was so scared and shy. Yeah. So I was more so like, I guess like protective, but just like running away.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
You're definitely running away emotionally. But, you know, you always want that person to come back.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with me and my boyfriend. Like, you know, I bless his heart. He's been through so much with me. Like, he got the root of all my adulthood transitioning into mental health. Yeah, kudos to him.
What advice would you give to someone that may be going through some, like, similar stuff?
The best advice I could possibly give someone that's going through what I've been through, that we've been through, is to have faith. Because that's the strongest thing that you can have. Then just be in touch with yourself, know what you want, and just go get it. And I promise you, you'll get out. There's always someone there to help you. If you do have that support system, use it, utilize it. If they love you, they'll help you. I mean, the bad times are only temporary. It may seem like it's an eternity, a lifetime, but it'll come to an end, and then you'll be in a good space, and you'll look back.
Yeah.
And you'll be in a space where you're telling your story.
Yeah.
You know? So, and you'll be able to motivate other people and to inspire other people for them to get out of it. It's a cycle. It's a vicious one, but it's a cycle.
Hey guys, Editing D here. I am currently combing through all the footage of Davina's story, and our conversation that day was over an hour, and we even had a conversation before we even filmed. So there was definitely a lot to unpack. And what you just watched was Davina's childhood story of her going through all of these things and running away and getting adopted. And I felt like that story in and of itself was so important on its own. Towards the end, the second half of the conversation, we ended up talking about an experience that she had in her adulthood years that might have stemmed from her childhood traumas. And that was also a very heavy and equally important conversation and story to have that I thought I wanted to keep separate, because both of them were equally as important and I wanted them to stand on their own. So if you would like to continue the conversation with Davina, please be sure to stay tuned for part 2, where she talks about her experience being checked into a psych ward and how she continued and blossomed in her mental health journey, and how she didn't even realize that she was going to change even more. So definitely stay tuned for part 2. And I just wanted to pop in here to let you guys know that if you saw that the outro for part 1 and part 2 are the same, this is why. I didn't realize that I was going to do 2 parts. Definitely stay tuned for part 2, because we're gonna have a lot more to unpack. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your powerful story. And I know that it's gonna help a lot of people, because my story alone helped like so many people.
Yeah.
And I know that like seeing other people going through similar stuff, it just really encourages them. Like I get so many like emails like of people sending me their stories.
Wow.
Yeah, asking for advice, or like, so I know that this is just gonna be one more person just showing them that like you can get through it.
And that's what I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to tell my story, because I feel like this may not be my main purpose, but I feel as though this is part of it. And I just always wanted to bestow it on other people. Like, you can get through it. Like, I'm fine. I'm getting through it. And life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Just don't look at it under a dark cloud. You
Yeah.
will get out of it. And I'm always down to help somebody. Like sometimes I feel like I'm doing too much by trying to help people, you know?
Yeah.
Like let me fall back a little bit. I feel like
But it's like, you know where that person, you know exactly where they are in this part of their life because you were there. So
I'm trying to protect them.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, no, I'm trying to protect you, but I want you to be your own person, experience these things so you know what to do, how to react in your own way.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm your friend, I'm gonna protect you for as long as I can. So yeah, I just hope this story kind of helps and everybody. And if you have any questions, you can definitely hit my phone or
I'm gonna definitely
email.
leave her.
Yes.
Not your phone number.
No, not my phone number.
I'm gonna leave your Instagram.
My Instagram
in the description, so you guys can follow her and hit her up. All right.
Hearts.
See you guys.